Welcome to Book Solid, the home service growth podcast. Helping service businesses capture more calls, respond faster to leads, and turn more opportunities into book jobs.
The homeowner called at 9:12 about a leaking water heater. By 9:20, the dispatcher thought the service manager had it. By 10:05, the service manager thought the dispatcher had scheduled it. At 1:30, the homeowner hired somebody else. Nobody ignored the call. Nobody decided to lose the job. The lead simply fell into the gap between assumptions. That is the kind of leak we are fixing today. Welcome to Booked Solid, the Home Service Growth Podcast. If you run a plumbing, HVAC, electrical, roofing, or other home service business, this podcast is for you. Most service companies think they need more marketing, but the truth is, many are losing thousands of dollars every month from missed calls and slow follow-up. On this podcast, we talk about simple systems that help capture more calls, respond faster to leads, and turn more opportunities into booked jobs. I am Jeff, and in each episode, I will share practical strategies you can use to grow your business without adding more complexity or hiring more office staff. Let us get into it. Now, rewind that water heater call. The dispatcher answers while 3 other calls are coming in. She takes down the homeowner's information and writes, "Needs callback from service manager" on a message pad. Then she sends a quick note to the manager. The note lands in a busy group chat. The manager sees it later, after he's already moved on to another issue. He assumes the dispatcher booked the appointment. The dispatcher assumes the manager is handling the callback. The technician who could have taken the job never hears about it. That's not a dramatic failure. It looks like a normal busy day, but the customer experiences it as silence.
Here is the rule I want you to remember. When everyone is responsible for a lead, nobody is responsible for booking it. Every opportunity needs one named owner for the next action. Not one person who has to do everything. One person who knows what happens next and makes sure it happens. And this is the part many teams miss. A handoff is not complete when the message is sent. It is complete when the next person accepts the lead and a deadline is visible. So, does the dispatcher own every lead forever? No, she owns it until somebody else clearly accepts the next step. The owner might call the homeowner, they might assign a technician, they might confirm that an estimate was sent, they might schedule the appointment, or make sure someone else schedules it. The action can change, the owner can change, but there should never be a moment when the lead belongs to nobody. From the homeowner's point of view, it does not matter whether the delay happened in the office, in the field, or inside a group message. Your company owns the experience. If the experience feels uncertain, the customer starts looking for a company that feels more certain. That is why this is not just an internal organization trick. It is customer service. A clear owner gives the customer a clear answer. And ownership is not blame. That distinction matters. If the question is, who dropped this lead? People get defensive. If the question is, who owns the next move? People can solve the problem. Someone on your team may say, I already have 6 callbacks. I cannot take another one. Good. That is useful information. Reassign the lead before the deadline. Do not keep the name attached to it while everybody quietly assumes someone else will help. Clarity protects the team just as much as it protects the customer.
For every opportunity, capture 3 things: who owns it, what happens next, and when it must happen. That is it. For a new air conditioning repair call, the note might say, Melissa owns it. She will call the homeowner and offer the first available appointment. The call is due within 10 minutes. That is very different from AC lead, please follow up. The second note stores information. The first note creates movement. For an unsold estimate, Carlos might own the follow-up. His next action is to call, answer questions, and offer 2 scheduling options. The deadline is tomorrow at 10 in the morning. If the homeowner says, call me next week, write the actual day and time. Carlos owns it. He will call Tuesday at 9:30 and reference the estimate. Specificity also makes your team sound more professional. Compare, I will check back sometime next week, with, I will call Tuesday morning after you have had time to review the options. The second promise feels organized because it is organized. For an after-hours furnace inquiry, the system might assign the morning callback to the on-call dispatcher. The next action is to confirm whether the situation is urgent and offer the earliest appointment. The deadline is 8:15 the next morning. The customer can receive an immediate confirmation message while the team still has a named person for the real conversation. And if the customer does not book on the first call, that is not automatically a dead lead. It becomes dangerous when the note says, thinking about it, with no owner and no next move. Open the last 10 leads that did not become booked jobs. If you cannot point to a person, a next move, and a clock time, that opportunity is already at risk. Not doomed, at risk. That is good news, because risk can be corrected before the customer disappears.
Now, you do not need a complicated software rollout to make this visible. Use the tool your team already touches. In a CRM, use fields for owner, next action, and due time. In a shared inbox, put the owner and deadline in the first line. In a spreadsheet, create 3 obvious columns. If your team works from a whiteboard, put the lead under a person's name and write the next action and time beside it. The tool is not the system. Visibility is the system. That sounds obvious. In a busy shop, it is not. A lead that exists only in one person's memory is fragile. A lead that the team can see with an owner and a deadline is much harder to lose. Here is what a clean handoff sounds like. I am assigning this to Carlos. Carlos, can you accept the follow-up by 2 o'clock? Carlos says yes, and the record changes. Or he says, I cannot get to it by 2. Please assign it to Melissa. Melissa accepts, and now the lead has a new owner. The messy handoff sounds like this. I thought you had it. I think somebody called them. Was that the estimate from Tuesday? Those phrases are not proof that somebody is careless. They are proof that the process depends on memory. The rule is simple. A sent message is not an accepted handoff. Until someone accepts it, the current owner still owns the next action. That one standard removes a surprising amount of uncertainty, especially when the office and field are moving at different speeds.
Let us apply that standard to the leaking water heater. The dispatcher gathers the homeowner's contact information and the short description of the leak. Before ending the call, she either books the appointment herself or assigns one next action to one specific person. Suppose the service manager needs to decide which technician should go. The dispatcher records, Service manager owns it. Next action, call the homeowner and confirm the service window. Deadline, within 15 minutes. The manager accepts the assignment. He calls the homeowner and says, we can help. I am checking which technician can get there soonest, and I will call you back with the service window within 10 minutes. That sentence is valuable even before the technician is chosen. The homeowner knows somebody is handling the request, knows what will happen next, and knows when to expect an update. The manager then assigns the fieldwork, but he does not just mention it while walking through the shop. He updates the lead and gets an acknowledgement. If the technician is driving or cannot safely make the call, the dispatcher keeps ownership and confirms the appointment. If the technician can call before heading out, ownership can move to the technician. The workflow can flex. The accountability cannot disappear. Now imagine the manager is pulled into an emergency. He tells the dispatcher, I cannot make that 10-minute callback. Can you own it? The dispatcher accepts. The deadline stays visible. That is a real handoff. It is fast, respectful, and clear. The goal is not to force every company into the same process. The goal is to eliminate silent assumptions. A lead should never float between the office and the field waiting for somebody to feel responsible.
The same rule works beyond the first call. A roofing inspection can be completed, but the estimate still needs an owner. An electrical quote can be sent, but somebody still needs to answer the customer's questions. A landscaping proposal can look perfectly organized and still go cold because nobody knows who is making the next contact. The opportunity is not finished just because your part of the conversation is finished. That is where teams sometimes get stuck. The estimator says, the proposal went out. The office says, we are waiting to hear back. The owner says, I thought the estimator was following up. Everybody did a piece of the work. Nobody owned the next piece. So make the next action part of closing every conversation. Before you move on, ask, who is doing what and by when? For a customer who needs time, the answer might be, Carlos owns the follow-up. He will call Tuesday at 9:30. For a missed call, it might be, Melissa owns the callback and will try within 10 minutes. For an after-hours form, it might be, the on-call dispatcher owns the morning contact and will call by 8:15. And keep it realistic. You don't need a detailed account plan for every basic question. 3 fields are enough. If the lead is not worth identifying an owner, a next action, and a deadline, it may not be worth chasing. But if it is worth chasing, do not leave it vague. This also creates a better customer promise. Someone will call you sounds like a hope. Melissa will call you within 10 minutes sounds like a commitment. Then your system gives Melissa a way to keep it.
The next challenge is keeping the board, inbox, or spreadsheet from becoming another neglected task. Make updates part of the conversation, not a separate administrative project. When someone accepts a lead, they update the owner. When they complete the action, they record the result and create the next action if one is needed. When they reassign it, the new owner accepts it. That is the rhythm. Then run a 5-minute ownership check each day. Not a long meeting. Look only at new leads, overdue actions, and high-value opportunities. Ask, what is overdue? Who owns it? What happens next? And when? If a new inbound call has not been contacted within 15 minutes, the office manager gets an alert. If an estimate follow-up is 1 business day late, the service manager reviews it. If an urgent after-hours inquiry misses its morning deadline, it moves to a backup person immediately. The escalation rules should support the owner, not embarrass them. People get pulled into jobs. Phones lose signal. A customer issue takes longer than expected. A backup process is not an accusation. It is how a small team stays reliable when the day gets messy. You can test this today. Take 10 recent opportunities that did not become booked jobs. Put them in one shared place. For each one, fill in the owner, next action, and deadline. If people give different answers, you found a handoff problem. If no one can answer, you found a visibility problem. If the action is overdue, you found a timing problem. Do not begin with criticism. Begin with ownership. Assign the next move, set the deadline, and see whether the customer can still be helped. Then pilot the rule for 1 week with one lead type, such as missed calls or unsold plumbing estimates. Watch response time, overdue follow-ups, and booked appointments. Those numbers will tell you whether the system is helping.
The one-owner rule is not about pretending one person controls the entire customer journey. Home service work is collaborative. Dispatchers, managers, estimators, technicians, and owners all contribute. The rule simply gives every handoff a destination. Think of a relay race. The problem is not that several runners are involved. The problem is dropping the baton. In your business, the baton is the next action, the callback, the appointment, the estimate question, the confirmation, or the follow-up. When the baton is passed, somebody has to receive it. So before your team ends a conversation, replace "someone will call you back" with a person's name, a specific action, and a time. When an office employee sends a lead to a manager, get acceptance. When a manager sends an opportunity to the field, make the next responsibility visible. When the workload changes, reassign the lead openly. One owner, one next action, one deadline. That simple standard can help a plumbing, HVAC, electrical, roofing, landscaping, or other home service company create the reliability of a much larger operation without hiring another office employee. If you want more practical ideas like this, download the free guide, 107 Quick Wins for Home Service Businesses at ProfitPulse.biz. It is built for service companies that want to capture more calls, respond faster, and turn more of the opportunities they already receive into booked jobs. Again, visit ProfitPulse.biz to download 107 Quick Wins for Home Service Businesses. Thanks for listening to Booked Solid, the Home Service Growth Podcast. If you found this episode helpful, subscribe so you do not miss future episodes about simple systems for capturing calls, respond faster, and booking more jobs. And if you know another contractor who could benefit from this, share the show with them. Until next time, keep building systems that turn more calls into booked jobs.